And now we go to, for a little bit later, after that heavy discussion on Jewish self-defense and self-defense in general, we go to Sharon Geller, and I think it would be good if she started us off with some jokes.
Okay, you got it, Adam. So a guy who has had a lot of hard knocks in his life, he comes to his rabbi and he says, Rabbi, life is so horrible, I'm just going to end it all. The rabbi says, oh, no, now please just tell me your troubles. The guy says, my business went bankrupt. The rabbi says, it could be worse. The guy says, my wife left me for my best friend. The rabbi says, it could be worse. The guy says, the doctor told me I have 6 months to live. The rabbi says, it could be worse. The guy says, how could any of this possibly be worse? And the rabbi says, it could be happening to me. All right, number 2. Thank you. A laugh from Adam.
I didn't see that punchline coming at all. I thought it was going a different direction.
See that? I fooled you. That's what comedy's all about. Surprise.
That's true.
Number 2. What is a pirate's favorite country?
Somalia.
Argentina.
Oh.
See, fooled you. All right, 3. A Jewish guy and a Chinese guy are talking, and the Chinese guy says, you know, the Chinese culture is over 4,000 years old. And the Jewish guy says, yeah, well, the Jewish culture goes back over 5,000 years. And the Chinese guy says, oh, my God, so for 1,000 years, where did your people eat?
I could have seen that one coming. Well, Elena Kagan would have liked that one because she liked making those lame jokes about Chinese food on Christmas. I hate that cliche, by the way.
All right, see if you heard this one. There is great, it's always been nice to be told your material is hated by someone.
No, not that. No, not that in particular, but the Lindsey Graham, Elena Kagan clip is so contrived and forced, and it even makes Lindsey Graham work worse. Sorry, I digress.
Okay, please, don't digress. So a guy celebrating Passover. It's such a beautiful day. He decides to eat his lunch in the park. He sits down on a park bench during Passover. He takes out his lunch. Of course, you can imagine what that consists of during Passover. And sure enough, a blind guy comes along, sits down on the bench. He hears the guy eating, and he says, you know, I'm so hungry. Could you please share your food with me? So Sam says, sure, I'll be happy to. And he takes a sheet of matzah, and he gives it to the blind guy, and the blind guy runs his fingers over the sheet of matzah, and then he says, who wrote this crap? All right. All right. I think we're up to 4. I'm not, or 5.
That was good. That's very timely, by the way, too. Actually, no, that would have been better last week or 2 weeks ago. But
okay.
Very good joke, though.
All right. Now, the other day, you had called me on female rabbis, so this one's for you. What's the difference between an Orthodox wedding, a conservative, Reform, and Reconstructionist wedding?
I know this one.
Okay. At an Orthodox wedding, the mother of the bride is pregnant. At a conservative wedding, the bride is pregnant. At a Reform wedding, the rabbi is pregnant. And at a Reconstructionist wedding, both the rabbi and her wife are pregnant.
That's true. Can we work Naturi Karta in there? Something about how they bash Israel? I don't know. That's another punchline for another day.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Or Chabad or something.
Okay. I'll let you do the joke writing for that one.
Yeah, and she's drinking age at Chabad, barely. Great. Now, I want to talk, sorry, my punchlines are terrible. There's a reason you're in the comedy business, and I'm not. And I just want to say, because I'm putting the show on hiatus, you've been great, Sharon. It's a highlight of the show, and we've told you that before, but it's still true now, and I love the jokes you've done.
Well, thank you.
But now let's get to something, let's get to your movie reviews.
Okay. I saw a great movie this week called Friends with Kids.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It looked interesting, but I sort of had the reaction like, this is not my crowd. There's an element of the cultural decline of the family. But what's ultimately important, was it funny? Was it engaging? And
it was engaging. It was funny. You know, the woman who stars in it, Jessica Westfeld, you might remember her from Kissing Jessica Stein.
Which I saw, actually, on a plane to Israel, of all places.
Oh, really?
I think the first time I ever went there, or maybe I came back, that was one of the things on the plane. Yeah.
I like that movie a lot.
It was well written. And
I thought she did a great job in it. She does a great job in this, too. And what I love about it is she didn't only star in it. She wrote, directed this one. It's great. And her co-star is Adam Scott. And the supporting cast, there are names that you might recognize, like Kristen Wiig and John Hamm and Maya Rudolph. This deals with a real problem for a lot of people in their 30s. They haven't yet met Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or Ms. Right, I should say.
Not me. I'm 40.
And they want, well, you have a longer lifespan, right? You just have to, you don't have to carry the baby. So they want to have a baby before it's too late, especially, like I say, for the women. So these two friends who are just longtime friends, nothing romantic between them, they decide that they want to have a baby before it gets too late and she can't have one. So as friends, they figure, let's have a baby together. We won't have the pitfall of being in a relationship because they've seen their friends who are married.
Right.
They've seen their relationships decline after the kids
that's
come.
an interesting premise, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so they decide to have a baby. And I don't have to tell you that, you know, the best case scenario of like you think you solved the problem. Of course, there are other problems that arise. And all I'll say is the movie's so funny and so delightful. There's no way that you're going to see this and not have a smile on your face.
I do want to know something, and this isn't the main point of the movie. Did he at least take her to dinner or something first? Did they split the cost? I mean,
he did much more than take her to dinner. Right. They had a baby together,
No,
Adam.
I know, but before the process of having a baby, I am really curious how that would work. Did they split the costs? Is she doing a lot more work for the baby that he at least pays for 90% of dinner?
No, actually, on paper, they worked it out, 50-50 split cost-wise, and then also the care. It helps a lot that they lived in the same building. Initially, they live in the same apartment building, so they can split that cost.
No. I'm talking about right before the process where they actually, made the baby. I mean, this is a PG-related show, so
right.
Take my hints. I mean, was there a turkey baster involved or like some soft music? Who paid for dinner is what I want to know. I would think she has to carry the baby and she gets like an extra dessert or something that particular night.
She did not get an extra dessert, but she got so much more, Adam. It was one of these things where they just said, hey, let's see if we can do this. They really got into bed and did it in a very technical way with no romance. I mean, they'd been friends for 20 years. Of course, what they didn't realize is that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship that went a whole lot farther than just friends. And I'll tell you, I don't want to tell you too much, but you'll see the movie and you'll see what develops. So it was a great idea that they had on paper. It had its own pitfalls, but in the end, everything is well.
And let me just get 30 seconds or a minute from you on the movie Bully. And obviously that term's thrown around, but I think, a lot of us are wary because of the attacks on Christians and the anti-bullying event this weekend. And also the Weinsteins are involved, and a lot of us are very suspicious of the Weinsteins. Just something Orwellian. But tell us about the movie with that in mind.
This is a movie that's worth seeing. It's a very hard movie to take. Bully is a real a word that's bantered about so much these days. Unfortunately, we've seen the results of bullying, and the results have not been good across America. We see this happening. It's a documentary on the pervasive problem of bullying in American schools today. So real parents are interviewed, real kids who were bullied. Some, unfortunately, couldn't be interviewed because they're no longer with us. And it really takes a look at the victim, the bystander, and the bully, and why people do the things they do, and what those long-term consequences of those actions can result in.
Two quick questions. Obviously bullying is nothing new, but doing it on Facebook, et cetera, does it handle that? And two, does it do anything about white kids being bullied at predominantly minority schools, which the media doesn't talk about, but certainly happens?
Well, one of the things that I found fascinating about this movie, and I commented to my friend and we saw it together, is that the movie seems to concentrate on middle America and lower class, definitely not wealthy, not upscale at all. Just middle America, almost Bible Belt kind of people. And what I didn't
that's the Weinstein's agenda.
And what I didn't like about the movie is this goes on everywhere. It goes on in upscale schools. It goes on in Jewish schools. It goes on.
Does it to the same extent go on in upscale schools and Jewish schools?
I think so. I
don't know.
People always find a reason to ostracise other people. I always feel like if the entire world was colored purple, the dark purple people would be, and the light purple people, colored purple people would be at odds with each other.
But it could be a more subtle ostracism at the upper levels. That's all I'm saying there.
Yeah, well,
more subtle, not quite bullying, but just social. You're not invited to this party, little slights like that, which have the same impact, but wouldn't qualify as. I don't know.
As someone who does a lot of work in schools with bullying and using improvisation, I can tell you that it's on Facebook. The bullying can start. It can start in the schools. It can start just hanging out after class. There's so many ways that it's pervasive, and this film really gives us a good insight into why people do what they do and how devastating the effects can be.
Yeah, no, it certainly seems like, even if it's not comprehensive, a good starting off point for a lot of discussions. And, I appreciate the review there. And Sharon, this is great work. We'll see what we're going to be doing with the show from this point forward. Basically, I'm looking for funding, as a lot of people are. I started doing the show. You can stay on until the end here, Sharon. I just have a few things I want to say before the end. But the show was done on an interim basis because of the unfortunate passing of Avi Strimber approximately 2 months ago, or maybe a little more than that. And I've tried to keep up the sort of Jewish and conservative mentality he's done. But, it's evolved into something. We obviously have a lot of YouTube clips on with Senate candidates and lots of our guests, and we're trying to really make a 2012 version of the show. If anyone is interested in sponsoring, it will hopefully feature Sharon many more times in the future, as well as some of the other things we've done. I want to thank Tim Halloran, who's been a great technical producer all along. And hey, as I said, if the money's there, I'll come back later this afternoon. And Tim, also thanks for putting up with me. I know I put in a lot of bumper requests like 2 hours before the show, and all the, little mixes and the cover things. That's a result of Tim doing that when he could be doing something else. So I want to thank him. I want to thank the people who sponsored the show all along, particularly Bob Gazzardi, but also Paul Singer at Singer Financial, your source for hard money loans at the greater Philadelphia area, and also Craig Snyder of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and also Lori Lowenthal Marcus at Z Street. Hopefully I'll be back on soon. And Sharon, thank you for doing it.
You are welcome. And please let me give our listeners just words to live by. If you have to ask how much something costs, you probably can't afford it. But if you can afford it, make sure to tell everybody what you paid.
And that is a perfect way to close the show. Thank you.
All right.